UFC Fight Night, Usman versus Buckley betting results. Ladies and gentlemen, I hit my first two bets and then I lost every single one after, and I profited a mere $5. I barely broke even and barely profited just the smallest smidge of absolutely anything I possibly could have with this UFC Fight Night. I had a few dog bets on this card. The first one was Phil Rowe. I was planning on putting a little bit on Vanessa Demopoulos, but I was like, yeah, Jamie, I'm pretty confident she's going to go out there and kind of dominate that fight. So I was like, yeah, that's a pass. I think Jamie wins that fight. There's not enough value on Jamie by decision. Can't really do anything there. But Angelusa, Phil Rowe, I felt weirdly good about Phil Rowe going out there and winning. So I put $100 on Phil Rowe to go out, plus 130. He's taller, he's lengthier. Did lose to Neil Magny by split decision, Jake Matthews by decision, and knocked out Jason Witt, Nico Price, Orion Kosi before that. And I was like, I feel like a few takedowns will come in from Ange, and Phil Rowe will just outstrike Angelusa on the feet, maybe hurt him, maybe rock him a few times, and win a decision. Round one, I was sure Angelusa's probably going to win that round. Round two, I would go Phil Rowe. Round three, I would go Phil Rowe. So that was my rationale going in. Round one went kind of how I expected. Angelusa won. Round two, Phil had his moments. Ange had his moments, and then he got taken down at the end. He could have easily won that round as a small error he made, which he didn't even have to get the third round comeback, and could have won the fight by winning round number two anyway. But Phil Rowe goes absolutely crazy in round number three, pressing forward as the taller man, landing body shots, landing hooks and uppercuts, gets him to the clinch and just starts pounding Angelusa's face until Ange just gasses out from exhaustion, just trying to survive, falls face first to the canvas. Phil's about to land some more, and they stop the fight. And was I watching this fight and being, yeah, Phil's got it at every moment? No, there was moments in round two where I was like, come on, Phil, you gotta win this round, and then he didn't. And then we're going into round three, I was like, I just lost my $100 on that bet. Phil Rowe came back, great victory, third round, come from behind. I literally think one or two things he could have changed, and he would have won round number two, and then he would have won round number three and won a decision. Wouldn't have to go through this crazy feat of coming back and doing all this craziness in round number three. But he did, and we were able to profit on that one for the first bet of the card. $100 on Phil Rowe at plus 130. The fight after that was Ricky Simón, Cameron Smotherman. Again, this is my parlay I was planning on doing, which would have actually hit. Jamie Linhorth, straight up. Ricky Simón, straight up. Malcolm Wellmaker by KO, TKO, or decision, and then and then Mansour Abdul Malik by KO, TKO, or decision. That's the parlay I was going to do for about even money. I didn't do it because Mansour was way too big of a favorite. Malcolm's odds are way too big. Jamie's odds are just way too bloated. I mean, expected value is just not there for those big, massive parlay odds. So I passed on that, but that parlay would have hit, which, of course, always in hindsight, looking back on parlays, you always go, But, yeah, Ricky Simón, I was going to put him on my parlay, but I decided against it. I wasn't going to do any props or anything like that. But I am curious, just because we're doing the betting results video right now, what were Ricky Simón by decision? Wow. The odds to go to a decision were plus money. Ricky Simón by decision was plus 175. So a simple bet on just goes to a decision, depending on the bookie, could have got plus 110, which is actually pretty interesting. If you look at Ricky Simón's performances in the UFC, he is a finisher. Finish. A few decisions here and there, but for the most part, when he wins, he goes out there and gets finishes. When he loses, he usually doesn't get finished, but has been before. Cameron Smotherman, if you look at his wins and if you look at his losses, he was on a lot of decisions in a row. Did get knocked out by Charalampis Grigoru. So, yeah. I mean, I was considering a decision bet. Didn't do it because I'm like, Cameron got knocked out by Grigoru. Ricky's got a lot more power than that. So, yeah, it was a pass for me on that fight. Jose Ochoa, Cody Durden. I predicted Jose to win that fight. Odds just weren't there. Odds just weren't there. Minus 220, they were ending at. They were a lot better earlier on. If we look right here, Jose was the dog for like a second. And then he was at minus 125 for a while. I am so mad I didn't bet him at minus 125, but the odds skyrocketed by the time I started looking at him. And I was like, there's just nothing there. There's just nothing there. And I thought Jose by decision, because I thought Cody would probably grapple and hold every time he got hurt and survive to a decision. But congrats on Jose Ochoa. Amazing, amazing performance. Everybody and their mom was betting Malcolm Wellmaker by knockout. Again, I was contemplating parlaying him, maybe. His knockout prop, the only good one was minus 200 right there, which is crazy. Even that, the value just really wasn't there for me. Because Chris Moutinho, I felt like could possibly survive. Mixing wrestling and grappling and survive that one. So, again, a lot of these ones, the odds are just so inflated for me to even think about betting. And I'm not going to do a dog bet on Chris Moutinho. I'm not going to do a dog bet on Durden or anything like that, or Smotherman. So it was just a lot of passes for me. I was like, just not enough there for me to actually be willing to put money on that fighter. Michael Chiesa, another one of them. I was pretty sure Michael Chiesa was going to go out there and win, but he was minus 300, minus 350. I'm like, just not enough there. Rodolfo Bellato, same thing. I was pretty confident he's going to go out there and win, but minus 400, minus 500 is crazy. Then we had Umar Sy and Alonzo Menifield. This one I bet a lot earlier in the week. I didn't even see. The odds blew up even more. 23 hours ago, I bet on this fight. I bet Alonzo Menifield with $25 at plus 500. That's massive. I was like, I think this is a 50-50 pick'em. Why are the odds plus 500 for Alonzo Menifield? That is insane. So I bet 25 bucks on it, trying to make $125 profit, which I did in a close decision. The odds ballooned even more than that after. They got up to plus 660. They got up to plus 600, plus 662. I mean, craziness with Alonzo Menifield's odds. I thought that was nuts. I thought plus 500, I was getting a bargain. Guess not. God damn. Again, Mansour, way too big of a favor for me to bet him. Even his knockout prop was crazy minus money. It wasn't even plus money. For a knockout win. Abdul Malik by knockout, minus 350. And he ended up getting a decision. So imagine the people that put knockout in their parlays. And he got that weird technical decision. I feel bad for those guys. God damn. Then we had Raoni Barcelos, Cody Garbrandt. I thought this was a clear underdog bet. The odds were crazy. I will do this bet 9 times out of 10 over and over and over again. 2-1 for Raoni Barcelos. And Cody's not that bad of a grappler. Not that bad of a grappler. Very good striker. And I thought this is a pick'em as well. Just like the Alonzo Menifield fight. I'm like, they're that big of a favorite. And I think it's a pick'em. Of course, I'm going to bet on Cody Garbrandt. I'm going to bet Cody Garbrandt in this spot hundreds and hundreds of times out of 100. I said 9 out of 10. But I will always bet Cody Garbrandt at these odds. It's crazy. So I ended up putting, I think, 50 bucks on him at plus 215. Some people got him at plus 230, plus 240. He didn't end up winning, but like I'm saying, I would still do it again. He had an amazing round 1, got hurt in round 2, and didn't really pick it up after that, but I still feel that's a good bet. Even in hindsight, even though I lost my $50, still think that's a good bet. I would do it again in a heartbeat. The one I wouldn't do in a heartbeat, Andre Petroski. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Andre Petroski, I got him at plus 140. I thought, this is another one I thought was a 50-50 pick'em. Edmund wins round 1, Andre wins round 2, round 3, or Andre finishes him in the later round with ground and pound, with submissions, like a lot of people have done to Edmund before. I was like, okay, a lot of people do this to Edmund. Andre should be able to do the same. Andre was so gun-shy to get inside and get the takedowns, and he really wasn't pushing any sort of a pace at all. Game plan wasn't there, takedowns weren't there, control wasn't there. Edmund looked a lot more improved than I thought he would. Looked a lot better than his last few fights as well. Just improved a lot. He improved so much. And, that's a bet, of course. Looking back, I regret. The Cody Garbrandt one is another one that I'm like, I don't regret it because I still think that's a good bet value-wise. But the Andre Petroski one, he looked horrible. He looked really, really bad. That was a bad bet. That was a really, really bad bet. And then the last bet we had was Moran the Maverick in the co-main event for money lines. Was Moran the Maverick in the co-main event. Again, 2-1. I'll say it every time. If I think a fight could literally go either way, and the fights are this far apart in terms of the betting odds, bet the dog. Like, just bet the dog, and long term, if you think those fights are this close, and you keep betting big plus 200 dogs, and you think it's a 50-50 fight, long term, you're going to make money, because all of these close fights where people are just betting the favorite and making them a bigger and bigger favorite, like she started minus 210, got to minus 270, minus 300 on some of them. That's just people betting their money on Rose Namajunas because they're seeing more people bet on Rose, so they're betting on Rose. And you see that big plus money on the dog, you bet the dog. So I would bet Miranda Maverick again. If Miranda and Rose Namajunas fought again, their minds wiped at the fight and they just got right back in there right now, I would put another $50 on Miranda Maverick. The value is still there on that bet, just didn't cash. Last but not least, Joaquin Buckley, Kamaru Usman. Again, I thought the odds were kind of iffy on the money line. I thought money line wise, it was definitely a dog or pass. But in terms of the prop, Joaquin Buckley by decision. I thought a lot of people were going to say Buckley by knockout, saying, oh, Usman's out of there. His chin's gone after the Leon Edwards one. His knees are gone, all that crazy stuff. I think the odds would be better on a Buckley decision. They weren't really that good. So I only put a half unit on that because I thought for sure this fight's going to go to a decision because every time if Buckley is able to hurt Usman in the fight, I thought, Usman would grapple and he'd survive. And I legitimately thought that would be the case where Buckley's defending takedowns, landing shots, and Usman's grappling so he can survive. Little did I know Usman is so good. And I know that's crazy to say, because only a few years ago, he was the dominant welterweight, number one, pound for pound. And, he wasn't able to out-wrestle Leon twice. I mean, the first fight he was a little bit, the second fight he really wasn't. We didn't really know where his wrestling was at, and we saw Buckley defend a lot of takedowns against Colby. And, we all thought, he's going to defend these takedowns on Usman, outstrike him, knock him out, whatever. I thought he was going to get a decision. Wasn't the case. So we still I don't know how that's possible. It's because of Alonzo Menefield and the value we got on him. We still profited $5, but I'm not happy with this card at all. Again, I would still bet Cody Garbrandt again if I could. I would still bet Miranda Maverick again. Andre Petroski, God, never again. Joaquin Buckley, we got to be really cautious with the wrestlers now because Colby, I guess it's maybe, I don't know. Colby just wasn't able to do anything with those takedowns. Usman was just on it. He was just on it. I think it's maybe a speed factor where Usman doesn't really have the knees to drop his knee to the floor and go for a takedown or anything. Get a double leg or that type of stuff. But he's really fast at getting that single leg where Colby looked really, really slow. So maybe that's it where, from now on, if Buckley's fighting a wrestler, we need to know how fast that wrestler. What is the speed of that wrestler? Because if Buckley's going against a guy that's a wrestler that didn't really have the speed to get in on the shots, like Colby, he didn't really have the speed to get in. Well, Buckley's probably going to win that fight, and we'd probably bet on Buckley. But we saw that Usman had the speed to get in pretty fast. That's a recipe for Buckley to lose because he's an explosive guy. He's a fast, powerful guy. So if he's going against a wrestler that's a little bit slower, that telegraphs some takedowns a little bit, but shoots a lot, maybe like a Bilal or a Colby, he probably wins those matches because they're a little bit slower. They're not as strong. Colby's not as strong. Bilal's not as strong. Usman is that stronger, and he's a little bit faster as well, which is interesting to say. There's a lot to be thought about. I'm going to take in a lot that I've learned throughout this card. There's a lot to definitely look at. The Alonzo Menefield fight is a massive, massive example to really look at these big favorites. Like, that's the main reason I was like, Paul Craig, Cameron Smotherman, Cody Brundage, all of these ones, I was like, I don't think they win. Like, I'm pretty confident they lose their fights. But parlaying all of them doesn't even get you plus money. It doesn't. So the value most of the time is on these big underdogs. When, people are just, look at this. People are having the odds minus 350, and they're just betting Mansour, betting Mansour, betting Mansour, betting Mansour to these crazy, crazy plus money odds that aren't deserved. Mansour should have never been a minus 1,000. He should have been a minus 300. So I think that's what I like to do. I like to find the good plus money in every card and every prop and every money line and things like that. So I'm going to continue doing that. When I do parlay, I want to be confident that I'm getting value on it. So I don't want to just put Ricky Simón in there just because I'm confident in him to win. I need to actually be minus 420 confident or more before I parlay him. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It wasn't a bad card. A lot of good finishes. Let's see. How many finishes did we have? There was a lot early. There was not a lot late. A lot of decisions late. We had Malcolm Wellmaker's crazy knockout. We had Jose Ochoa. Phil Rose comeback. No submissions, but a lot of good knockouts early on in the card. And then the ending, a lot of decisions. But still not a bad card. A few fights, but a few fun fights. Mansour Cody was a fun one. Usman Buckley, a lot of people thought it was boring. I was hyped. I was like, oh my God. In round 5, round 1 through 4, a little iffy. But yeah, those are the betting results. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.